Hey everyone, have you ever spotted one of those awesome boxy little Suzuki SUVs from the 90s and just scratched your head wondering, wait, is that a Vitara or an Escudo? Maybe a Sidekick? Well, if you have, trust me, you are not alone. So today, we're going to untangle the story of one of the coolest, but yet most confusing SUV families ever made.
All right, let's just dive right into this. It's a riddle that has seriously puzzled car people for decades. I mean, they look almost identical, right? They all share that same bulletproof, tough-as-nails reputation. But then you walk around back, and the badge is different. So what's the deal? What's the real story here?
To get to the bottom of this, we've got to hop in our time machine and set the dial for the early 1990s. This is when Suzuki unleashed a compact SUV that was just destined for worldwide success. But it's the strategy they used, especially in certain markets like Indonesia, that created this fascinating case of automotive triplets.
So let's break down this family tree. How did it all really work? You know, the key to understanding them is actually way simpler than you might think. It wasn't about completely different bodies or anything like that. Nope, it was all about creating a clear ladder, a hierarchy based on the drivetrain and features to appeal to every type of buyer. Pretty smart, huh?
Okay, before we go any further, let's get the lingo down. In enthusiast circles, you'll hear this whole trio referred to as the VES family. It's just a handy little acronym. V for Vitara, E for Escudo, and S for Sidekick. It's a nice shortcut. And hey, now you're in on the secret.
And here it is. This cable basically solves the whole mystery in 3 simple lines. At the very top of the food chain, you had the Vitara. That was the flagship, the fully loaded, go-anywhere 4x4. Then, to make things a bit more affordable, Suzuki gave us the Escudo. It kept most of the nice features from the Vitara, but, and this is the important part, it was rear-wheel drive only. And right at the bottom, you had the Sidekick. This was the bare bones, no frills, get-you-in-the-door model, also rear-wheel drive.
And the way they launched these in Indonesia tells the story perfectly. The top dog Vitara landed first in '92, planting its flag for off-road credibility. 2 years later, the Escudo popped up, offering that same cool style for folks who were mostly driving in the city. And then just 1 year after that, the Sidekick arrived to grab the entry-level market. I mean, what a brilliant strategy to cover all the bases with just one platform.
And this slide right here perfectly illustrates what that spec-down strategy really looked like. Just check out the difference between the high-end Vitara and the basic Sidekick. It's night and day. We're talking power everything versus, well, manual everything. Painted trim versus black plastic, shiny alloy wheels versus basic steelies. Underneath, they were very similar, but the day-to-day experience of living with one, worlds apart.
All right, so with all those differences in trim and features, what was actually powering these little trucks? Well, this is where they all came back together. They all shared a heart from the same family, the legendary Suzuki G16 engine. This thing is famous for being simple and just ridiculously tough. But, of course, there were a few little variations over the years.
For the most part, these SUVs ran on the original workhorse, the G16A 8-valve with a good old carburetor. Simple, robust, and super easy to work on. But then, things got a little more interesting. In 1995, Suzuki offered a rare 16-valve Vitara called the EPI, which stands for Electronic Petrol Injection. It was a glimpse into the future, a more modern fuel-injected setup, even before the later G16B engine became more common.
Now let's be real, no classic vehicle is perfect. They've all got their little quirks, right? And the VS family is no exception. They've got a few well-known issues, or as they call them in Indonesian car circles, penyakit, which literally translates to ailments. So let's take a look at what you should expect.
This quote from a specialist mechanic, Wari, just hits the nail right on the head. He says, and I'm paraphrasing here, the ailment of the Suzuki Vitara, Escudo, and Sidekick since the beginning has always been oil consumption. The oil just evaporates quickly. And yeah, that is without a doubt the most famous flaw of the G16 engine.
So, besides keeping a close eye on your oil level, you should be ready for some other classic 90s SUV traits. They're pretty thirsty. You'll be lucky to see 8 or 9 kilometers per liter in the city. The AC might struggle a bit to keep you frosty on a really hot day, and that suspension, it's definitely more rugged utility than cushy comfort. The ride can be a little stiff and bumpy.
Okay, so it burns oil, is thirsty, and the ride is a bit rough. So why on earth is the VA series not just remembered but actively loved and sought after today? Well, because for every single one of its flaws, it has a legendary strength that just completely outweighs it. And that's really the thing about these trucks. Their quirks have become part of their character. They aren't just boring appliances to get you from point A to B. Oh no, they are canvases. Canvases for adventure, for personalization, for modification. And that is where their true legacy really begins.
The passion that people have for these vehicles is absolutely incredible. Get this, some owners have spent over 20 years, that's 2 decades, researching and modifying their Vitaras. 20 years dedicated to perfecting one single platform, turning a humble little SUV into an absolute off-road machine. It just shows you how much potential is baked right in.
So when you boil it all down, it's the perfect recipe for a classic. The platform is what Indonesians call bendel. It's just stubbornly tough and reliable. It's an amazing base for whatever you want to build. It's supported by a massive global community of passionate owners, and maybe best of all, parts are cheap and easy to find. That is how a legend is born.
Which really leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? In an age of cars that are so complex and computer-controlled that you can barely work on them yourself, does the simple, tough, and endlessly customizable nature of the Vitara, Escudo, and Sidekick make it the perfect antidote? Is this maybe the ideal classic project SUV for the modern adventurer? What do you think?